Welcome to KHOU 11 Plus. I'm Len Cannon. Today we are talking about school security, in particular protecting schools from school shooting situations. And joining me now is the COO of Dynamic Interactive Security, Zeev Fragachan. Did I get that right?
You get that right.
I got it right. Thank you for being here. Now, this is a big deal because you're involved in 500 schools that you either consult or provide security for, whether it's private, public, college, universities.
Absolutely.
And so how did you get into this? Why did you get into this?
My background is in the Israeli army. I served 10 years in special forces prior to moving to the United States. I got 2 kids. I'm a father. And I always say that I will kill for my kids and I will die for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm protecting a school, those kids are my kids and nobody mess with my kids.
I see.
I think that is paramount. That is the mindset of anybody who is in this business of protecting life.
Let's get into some of the things you talk about in terms of providing security at schools. And Lord knows Texas has had its share of school shootings, and we can talk about those in a minute. But you wrote, true foundation of safety lies in proactive planning, training, and community engagement. Let's break those down. Proactive planning, what does that mean? How so?
Well, absolutely. If we go to the history of violence in a school, you're going to see there's a common trend in the last 30 years. Most of these perpetrators have in common that they are looking for glory, they're looking for exposure, for recognition. If we go and we learn about the past, about the history of active shooters, we know how to detect them early.
Identify
them. And how we do that? Social media. Social media is vital. Monitoring social media for trends, which is something that the police are doing, we are doing it. In conjunction with the civilians, in conjunction with the parents. Parents, nobody knows their kids like parents.
Mm-hmm.
Parents know what's going on.
Or sometimes they don't know as much as they should.
Or sometimes they don't even know, they don't know how to recognize the symptoms.
Yeah, because when I think of, say, Columbine, 1999,
correct,
which I covered, the parents had no clue that they were planning and plotting in their own bedrooms.
That is correct. Now, many things changed from that time.
It's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. However, lessons that we're supposed to learn in Columbine were forgotten. And I got to tell you which one. The training from the police. When police arrived to Columbine, the police did not immediately access the building and neutralize them. They make a perimeter and they wait there, and this is very unfortunate because since then we were training our law enforcement, our first responders, to access the building immediately. And that didn't happen in Uvalde, didn't happen in Stoneman Douglas, it didn't happen in many other places. And that is regretfully, because it seems like we forgot history.
So, in recent history, it seems.
Correct.
So, you talk about proactive planning, like checking social media. That makes a lot of sense. That's where a lot of young people live.
Correct.
Express themselves,
correct,
so to speak. So, checking social media, that's part of the planning. Training. Training for who?
Training for law enforcement, training for the kids, training for the staff.
Okay, let's start with law enforcement.
Absolutely. Let me tell you that if we go, again, to history, to studying the matter, you're going to see that statistically, a school shooting lasts 8 minutes. Every 8 seconds, somebody gets shot. The police response in the United States between 8 minutes to 10 minutes.
Too late.
So statistically, they're going to arrive too late. Actually, if you go to the studies of the FBI, they will say 75% or more of the time, police arrive too late. So if you are a teacher, if you're a administrator, if you're a principal, how you operate a school without having somebody armed and trained in responding to active shooters? How you are responsible for the kids? Because when I take my kids to school, you are the one responsible for their safety. How is it possible that you operate a school like that?
So schools should have someone trained, armed on campus.
It should be criminal for you not to have it and operate a school in those conditions.
Now, I know in Texas it was required in many schools, but not all schools have it. And do you recommend mostly, say, middle school and up, or
No,
all schools?
All schools.
Oh my.
And actually in Florida, we have a mandate. We're the first one who have a mandate where it states that you cannot operate a school if you don't have either law enforcement or a certified safe school officer, which have to be certified by the sheriff office.
Okay.
Why? Because you have to certify and you have to train these people to a level superior to a regular deputy or a regular police officer. Why? Because you're not supposed to take a shot in the street to a bad guy where there's not many people around. You're supposed to take that shot and eliminate a threat in a room full of kids, with kids in between, kids behind,
Right.
kids under, and maybe the principal or the teachers also in the room. You can make no mistakes. Failure is not an option, and you own every round going out of that gun.
So, so how do you afford to get somebody with that kind of training?
99% of the people that we hire are retired law enforcement and mostly veterans. We give these veterans, veterans, they were 11 Bravos, they were infantrymen, they were in combat.
Gotcha.
A new purpose in life, and we'll be very successful in that.
Yeah, so we talked about planning, we talked about training. Community engagement, what does that have to do with security in schools?
Absolutely everything. Because the question is, how many times you see all these cases in Newtown, you see it in Santa Fe, you see it in Stoneman Douglas, where everybody knows, everybody discusses it, but nobody do anything.
About the person who
absolutely
seems suspicious,
correct, seems
writes
suspicion,
something.
write something, it was in social media, it was commenting between their friends, their peers. They already know. Actually, the more sad story of Stoneman Douglas, when the FBI knew it and have a dossier of the guy, and
Yes.
he didn't talk to BSO, the sheriff in Broward did not communicate with them, and the school knows what's happened, but they don't really want to lose the funding of having these kids there. It was an ecosystem of
failure.
Don't doing anything,
Yeah.
not communicating with that. If we as parents demand that communication, if we as parents, because that's another trend that we see. Sometimes I go to a PTO meeting, to a parent meeting, when we have these called experts, and they go and try to sell something, and the parents take it, because sometimes come from law enforcement, but they didn't criticize, they didn't use common sense on what they are signed for. When somebody's tried to sell me the panacea, which is, I want to have ballistic doors and bulletproof glass and metal detectors.
Bulletproof backpacks.
Transparent backpacks. I hear it all.
Okay.
And then parents take it like this is the solution. We're gonna solve the problem. We all gonna buy this, and we're gonna spend thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in these systems. But the reality is that we're missing the big picture. Let's see. I'll give you an example. You have pneumonia. It's like having pneumonia and just taking Tylenol for the fever, but you're not treating the pneumonia.
Okay.
So we are facing a cultural shift. See, there is a problem in our education, the way that we're raising our kids, and this problem is not new. This is like a 20 to 30-year-old issue.
Okay, so what is it about how kids are being raised, in your opinion, that leads to this kind of violence?
Let me explain to you. When you're expecting your kids to be raised in the school and not in home by the family, because in the school you're being taught history, mathematics, chemistry, civics. You're not being taught what is right or wrong, morality, the value of family, the value of accepting failure, because failure is part of success.
That's true.
Unfortunately, I don't know if you have ever seen this trend, 20, 30 years ago when we start giving our kids participation awards. Do you remember that? Okay.
I've lived it. I have a teenager.
I lived it.
I know what you mean.
So the problem we have is this. In the brain of a kid, you go from birth until you're 7 years old, you are forming probably the most important formational years of this young adult, of this young kid. Because you learn how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to communicate, and you learn the value of failure, because you fail and you learn to accept it, and maybe put more effort to win next time, but you accept it because it's part of life. So when you take that away, that brain didn't receive that information, you lose the opportunity to develop that part, to develop that core value. Now you have adults, they are going to have kids, and how they face life. Oh, I'm offended the way you look at me. I'm offended because you are different than me. I'm offended because culturally you are not compatible with me, because you have a different opinion. Life is like that. Yeah. Life is failure. Life is part of that.
So, Zeev, are you saying that that parents in the last 20, 30 years have fallen short in their moral guidance?
They're falling short because they want to shield their kids from
harm, hurt, failure,
from
disappointment?
Disappointment, correct. That will be the word. And the question is then creating another problem now. We are creating very weak individuals who are facing their existential things in life, like every one of us are being rejected in loved ones and all that, but for them, they're the end of the life. They're never experienced it before. Where's my participation award right now? and now in life, you got to go back into society saying, I'm a failure, and probably the only thing I can do, and look at this trend. You see it in Nicholas Cruz. I'm a failure. I need to be somebody.
That was the shooter in Florida.
Correct.
Stone Douglas.
I need to be somebody. I got to pass to history doing something.
Okay.
I got to kill people.
Wow.
He do it because he wants the attention.
So part of what you're saying is for a failure for parents to teach children, and they end up with an inability to cope, and therefore they turn to violence?
That is part of the problem. There's certainly a huge amount of mental health into this. But if we don't have the tools, if we as parents, we not give those tools to our kids, how do you expect them to face fair in life?
You wrote a book, it's right here. I'll read it. In the Line of Fire, Protecting Lives in Active Shooter Situations. So we've talked about planning, training, community engagement. That sort of is on the prevention side.
Correct.
What happens when something unfolds? Let's start with 2022, Uvalde, Texas.
Correct.
That was a failure on law enforcement. And I still have not wrapped my head around how that happened. You had a hallway full of trained officers armed to the teeth who did nothing. So
was a failure in training, and I tell you why. Was a failure in training. They were ill prepared to what they do. It's incomprehensible to me. Then after the first 10 minutes, there were no command posts and somebody giving orders. Most of the police officers were complaining, like, who is in charge here? Nobody's in charge. The information that was coming from them was all sketchy. We know because we see part of the investigation, we saw that that building have only 3 entrances. They were open all the time. You can go to that building anytime during the day and just walk in.
I am sure in that case, I mean, you're in Uvalde, Texas. It's not very big. It's probably very safe. Nobody's thinking this kind of thing is going to happen in an elementary school.
Think Santa Fe. I remember one of the victims says, there's more cows in Santa Fe than people. And it's true. The question is this. The mentality of a victim is to say, oh, it's not going to happen here. Don't worry, we're a small community, never going to happen to us. That is the state of mind of a victim, because he's going to be a victim. It can happen in any time, anywhere. We need to prepare for that. Now, these are phenomena that are not happening just in the United States. This is a worldwide phenomenon. This is a widely misunderstood issue that people are wrapping around, and you have a lot of quote-unquote experts going around and predicating for their own agendas. And this is not a political issue. A bullet is going to kill you. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, communist, capitalist, whatever you are. Yeah. It's going to kill us all.
So, but the gun violence in schools becomes a political issue because it's an argument over should there be more regulation. of guns.
Let me tell you something about regulating guns. I'm not against regulating guns, but I'm a pragmatic person. I'm a numbers person. I want to do the investigation, see the numbers. In the United Kingdom, they eliminated guns long ago. Most police officers are not even armed. There are about 3,200 stabbings in schools in the United Kingdom per school year in only 10 months. And they only have 85,000 million people there. What we're going to do now, confiscating all the kitchen knives, and they got to go now for forks? They go medieval. That's sometimes what I think. The question again is this, and I got to give you another analogy. We've been fighting the war on drugs for the past 70 years. We spent trillions of dollars. There are hundreds of thousands of dead bodies out there because of this. We put hundreds of thousands of people in jail. Tell me something. Do you feel we're winning? I'll tell you something. Because the problem is that we always try to find solutions that are the easier solution to our problems. Simple solutions. And there are no simple solutions here. I agree. We need to keep the pressure on the producers and the traffickers and the people who distribute. But we have to do very little to the people who are buying this, who are spending the money, who are fueling this.
What do we do?
I'm not an expert on that. I'm just giving you an advice. That's another book. Then we have to read
another
about
book. So let me
All
ask you. Let me ask you this. You started out this conversation saying that most shootings in schools takes about 8 minutes.
Correct.
It takes about
the longest.
The longest. It takes about 8 minutes for help to arrive, or
8 to 10.
8 to 10,
or more.
So what are you when you're hired by a school and you're putting security in? What does that security learn about what to do if there's something happening?
Every time I go to school and I saw a police officer staying outside doing a report because he comes from another job. He's doing overtime.
Double duty.
Okay. And I arrive there and I ask him, frankly, hey man, how you doing? Let me ask you something. If there is a school shooting right now inside that building, what are you gonna do? Oh, I gotta rush inside. How you know? Because you're not gonna hear the shots from where you are right now. You are in the car with the windows up, AC on, and that happened in the cafeteria, which is very dangerous, by the way. Well, they gotta call me. Okay, and how you gonna get in? Because that building is gonna go in lockdown, code red, lockdown. How you gonna get in? I'm law enforcement. They gotta open for me. Oh, okay. Now, let me ask you something, because you didn't see me coming, and I just knock on your window. What happens if I am the bad guy and I just shoot you, and now I'm gonna shoot those kids? What are you gonna do? Oh, I'm law enforcement.
Okay, so what's
what makes you bulletproof? That's my question. And listen, I have whole respect for police officers. A lot of my employees are police officers. That the issue is that particular kind of police officer is making everything looks bad. That police officer right now is a liability. That police officer right now, or it doesn't have to be a police officer, that security officer who is outside right now is endangering the life of everybody in that school.
So what should they be doing that flips the script here?
I do not want anybody with an SRO or a security officer or a deputy protecting a school with an office in the school or waiting outside in the car. The kids are in the cafeteria, which is very dangerous. You need to be in the cafeteria. If the kids are going to the field, you need to be in the field. If the school is in session, you need to check on those doors to be locked from the inside, because that is your job. Your job is not to be sitting there, because this is a job, this is a gig for you before retirement. Because that was happened in Stoneman Douglas.
Yeah.
We have Scott Peterson, who was 1 week before getting his retirement, and he just blindly says, I'm not gonna risk my life 1 week before I get retired for these kids. Not my kids.
Yeah.
I don't need that guy.
So poor training, poor engagement.
Correct.
About how to approach the job.
If you see, and I know a couple of police officers who are going to look at this and they're going to tell me that it is the truth. Most of the guys that we put in schools traditionally are second-tier police officers, the ones who are too bad to put in the street, or the ones who are about to get retirement. And they want something quiet, nothing's going to happen here. The victim's mentality, nothing's going to happen here. Now, if something happens, and you learn from this history, and you are the only one in that school, what are your breaching tools? What about if that happened, if that school shooting happened in that classroom? What are your breaching tools? How are you going to breach that door? Because you can wait for the police. Because if you wait 8 to 10 minutes, then they arrive, and they may not have a breaching tool. Those kids are dead.
Yeah, time is ticking.
Time is ticking. You have 8 minutes. That's what I tell everybody. These shooters have 8 minutes to do whatever they got to do. If I have somebody in the school, he got seconds. And then we got to eliminate him. So we need to give those police officers, whoever is in the school, training in breaching that door. We need to give them a ballistic shield if it's necessary, because I got to go inside and I got to eliminate that threat. That's my job.
I hope, Zeev Fragachan, you're in the business of protecting.
Correct.
It'd be nice one day that you were out of business because you're not needed. Sadly, I don't think that's going to be the case.
That will be great.
Yeah, but we thank you for coming and sharing your insight. We've had, so many different, Uvalde comes to mind, the most recent, which is so horrific. But the work that you do is important, and spreading the information is important, and we thank you for sharing, for people to understand from the inside your thoughts about safety and security, the training and the planning before there's ever a shooting.
Saving lives. Remember, the streets, the vehicles in the parking lot of the school, even the school instructor, insurance will pay for that. There's no insurance in the world who's paying for a second of your life or the life of the kids or the staff. That is the most important.
All right. Zeev Fragachan, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it.